Okay, so this is where we are. Okay, and I see few of you had problems with installing Docker and all. So what I'll do is I'll just take this thing off. I'll just delete this instance and I'll create a fresh one so that we all are on same page. So there are a few things which is mandatory for you to understand before you create an instance. Go to your EC2 dashboard, and there should be one single security group where all the inbounds are open. So see this particular security group, click on this. So if you see here in this one single security group, I have these many ports open: port 22, port 80, and port 3000. Okay, so I've opened these ports, and now what I will do is using this security group and using this key pair, Docker Kubernetes key, which is a PPK key for me, I will go ahead and create an instance. So let's come here, EC2 dashboard, running. So I don't see anything running. I'll go ahead and create one. So I'll go with Amazon Linux. I'll go with T2 Micro. Third thing, I'll leave everything as blank. Fourth, I will add storage 8 GB. Fifth, I will say name, and I will say it is Docker K8s machine. Next, and here I will add, or I will use the existing security group, which is this guy. Review and launch, go ahead and launch it. So this is the key. Go ahead, say launch. So you can see this machine is now available for me. It is pending, it is coming up. And the moment it will come up, I will get a public IP address, which is this guy. So using this as my public IP address, I will get started. So I will log in, OT. I can say EC2 minus user at the rate this thing. Okay. And then I can go here, appearance, change the font size. Let me say I'll make it at 16. And then SSH, click on the plus button, auth, go and see for the key, browse. And this is the key I have. Open it up. Would you like to connect? Yes. Accept the connection and you are connected. Now, if you see here, there is a command which says sudo yum update. So just go ahead and update the package. So many a times there are some updates which are provided to you. Okay, Likit Raju, I'll just get in touch with you. I will show you how to connect with Session Manager. So I'll do it later. So I ran a command here where I told sudo yum update -y and I updated my machine. Okay. Then if you see here, I'm logged in as a EC2 user. So I will say sudo su hyphen. So I'm a root user right now, and this is my IP address. Let me change the name here, host name, Docker Kubernetes. Again, sudo su hyphen. So when I get started, I don't have any Docker thing here. I can check that Docker. If I give this command Docker ---- version, I get an error here or says Docker not found. So I'll go ahead and say yum installed Docker. And it will go ahead and install Docker for me. So I can see Docker has been installed, and I'm already all set to get started. Now, if I run some Docker related commands like Docker images, I get an error here and it says, are you sure your Docker daemon is running? Okay. So there is Docker daemon which is present here, and they're saying, are you sure your Docker daemon is running? It means the Docker engine or the Docker daemon is not running. So I can come here and say service Docker status. So when I say service Docker status, I can see it is loaded but not running. It is inactive. So I go ahead and say, let's start the service. And it has started. This time, if I come back and say status, I can see it is up and running. Now let's clear everything. And this time, I want that in future, if this thing happens, I should not go and again start my server. So I will just do something like this: systemctl enable Docker. So this command simply says that whenever I shut down my system, you shut down Docker along with that. And whenever I bring my application back, or whenever I start my application, along with that, you start Docker also for me. So just before starting, just want to check if Docker is running. Service Docker start, I can see it is active and running. Now I can go ahead and do whatever I want. So in yesterday's class, I was talking about images, and then I was talking about containers. So I told you images are the read-only template. These templates are being used to get the files which are there on the Docker Hub and then pull it to my local. So at the end of the day, it should be there in my local, and from there it will work. So first is, how do I get an image? So to get an image which is already available, you go to your hub.docker.com. That's a place where you can go ahead and create your own public repositories. Okay. You can also create private repositories. So when you go here to explore, you will see there are so many repositories available. Some 88 lakh 39,322 repositories are present. What you are going to do is you're going to pick some which you need, and then you get started. So I'm going to pick Nginx. So when I say Nginx, I'm looking for the official image, and I will go with Nginx. Now, yesterday in the class, I told Nginx is a web server which will help you in two things: in proxy server and load balancing. There was a question, what is a proxy server and why are you using Nginx? So let's first understand what is a proxy server and then go ahead and say how to do load balancing. So let me assume a scenario here. So I have a server, okay? So this is my server. Let me say it's a website. Now, when you expose your website directly, okay, there is a threat that some hacker can directly attack your website. Okay. So as a part of security, I put a proxy server in between. Okay. Now, whenever some hacker or any user will come, he will not directly hit my server. He will hit my proxy server. So as a hacker, he will never come to know where the request is coming from and how is it reaching to me. So you're not directly reaching the web server. You've created a proxy layer in between, and that proxy layer is taking this record ahead. So there are benefits of this. There are multiple benefits. First benefit. So this is my web server. This is my proxy server. So whenever a hacker comes or any user comes, he will come and hit my proxy server. Okay. And from here only he will get the response. So for him, this is the one who is sharing and sending response. But internally, this proxy server will connect to this guy, take the response and give back to you. So it gives you a security additional layer where your servers will not be hacked easily. And that's why it is known as proxy server. It is not actually receiving the request or actually serving the request. Rather, in the background, somebody else is doing it, but it is not exposing that. Okay. It is very similar to when you are in a college and you are not attending the class, but on your behalf, your friend says that he's present. So he's putting a proxy for you. Similar thing is what we are doing. We don't want to expose our website, and that's the reason we're putting a proxy server on ahead of that. So this proxy server will go ahead and take the traffic, and then he will come and give it to me. So this is a trusted source for me. So I know that from here, I will not be getting any malware or any virus. But when a hacker is directly coming in, he may come up with some malware or virus. This is first benefit. Okay. The second benefit, one second, I see a question here, is the concept of Route 53. Route 53 is not only limited to this proxy thing. There are more or many other things than this. Like Route 53 is a DNS name service. So yes, a part of it can be true, but not everything. Okay. Now, when this proxy server is working, Proxy, when this proxy server is working, in the background, there can be 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 servers. There can be multiple servers who are working in the background. So this decides, okay, let me put this request here. Let me put this request here. Let me put this request here. So it is kind of doing a load balancing also for me. So it is saying this machine is 30% occupied. This machine is 60% occupied. This machine is 90% occupied. So let's not put anything here, put everything here. So this is load balancing. So as an Nginx component, I can use Nginx for two things. One is for proxy server and the other one is load balancing. So hopefully these two things are clear here. So when I go back to my component on my internet, here it talks about two things. It's an open source reverse proxy server. Okay. So reverse proxy means it will absorb or it will take the traffic and also it will give you a response back. So that's why we say it's a reverse proxy. And the second thing is any traffic which is coming from HTTP, HTTPS, POP, IMAP and all will be taken care here. And it will also act as a load balancer. So this is the basic functionality of any Nginx server. Okay, how to use it? So it says you can use a Docker run command, but before doing a Docker run, it will be good for you if you pull that image locally. So if you go ahead, you can pull this directly from here like this. It got terminated. You start this. So if you want, you can pull an image like this. If you don't have any images, you can come here and say Docker images just to check. Yes, I don't have any. Now I will pull this Docker or I'll pull this Nginx image. I don't mention anything here. It will automatically take it as latest. Okay, if you mention, then also it will take latest only. But if you mention 1.7, 3.6, then precisely that particular version will be pulled. Now, if you see here, it is pulling the image and it is a layered approach, one layer after the other. So it says downloaded a new image. Now it's already present in my local. Again, if you want to download, it will not download. It is saying it is already present. The image is already up to date. So every time when you want to get started, you should pull the image to your local environment. Once you pull this image, you will go ahead and work with this. So work with this in the sense, expand this or do whatever work you want to do. So if you see here carefully, I did not install any software here. I installed only one software, which is Docker. And now I'm using that component to do all my tasks. So I've created a Docker runtime environment and I am only pulling the images and working with that. I will not have to install any other software. So whatever software is working on machine X will work on machine Y also. Okay. So now I can see my images available. I want to run that image. So to run that image, there are multiple.
Hi, Vikas, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, please go ahead, man.
This is Venkat. Yeah, actually in the Docker Hub, is this public hub or can we set up in our server like
No,
username, password like that?
This is a public repository, but yes, you can log in and create your own credentials. So if you see
In real time, we are using like that only, na? Username, password.
So yes, so I will let you know on that once. Okay. 1 second. See, in real-time scenario, okay, it is not like Docker Hub is the only one who is providing the services. See here. So when you talk about Docker Hub, okay, you have many vendors like Azure has one, AWS has one, Google has, Query Register has. So there are many Docker Hub registries. Okay. So Docker registry is nothing but there is a place where you're storing the code. That's it. Okay. So in real-time scenario, it will depend on your company where they are trying to store the content. But to get started, what you can do is go ahead with this hub.docker.com and create an account here. Okay. Just let me log out.
Basically, it is like a storage system.
It's a storage. Registry means it's a storage.
So wherever you want, you can store it.
Yes, you can store anywhere. Can we create snapshot of the Docker? Yes, you can do all these things. So basically, first thing, you will come here and create an account. So sign up, create an account, a unique username, email, and password, and then you can sign in. So what I have done is I have created my username is Vikas24775, and I have created a account here. Even if you don't create an account, you can come to this explore section and you will see all the images. So it's a public repository where you can find everything. Yes, if you upgrade, you can make it a private repository, means something which you are only able to see, others are not able to see. Okay, so as of now, I'm just starting with the image and container concept. I'll go in depth when this particular topic comes again. So what I was looking at is I'm looking at Nginx. So Nginx is something which I'm looking at. If I scroll all the way down, it says to host some simple static content or to run this, you can use this particular command. So let me run this command first. So yesterday also I showed you that I can run this command like this, docker run. Now I don't know what is docker run, what docker run will do. So you can come here and say docker run -- help. So it will tell you what all options are available. Like yesterday I ran with the option as -a. So you were saying what is A? So A is attach mode. So all your standard input, standard output, standard errors, you will see there on the screen only. So it will kind of block your screen. So this is attach mode. Then I told we can run with -d option. So what is -d? It is detach mode. So if you see here, it says it will print the container ID and the container will keep running in the background. Means your screen will be left. You do whatever you want to do. Then I came ahead and told I will use a flag called -- name. Where is this n thing? M -- name string. So it says you assign a name to the container. You give your name to the container. Okay. So like this, there are many options. Okay. There can be many permutation combinations. So what you have to do is you have to get started, and then as and when you need, you will pick one and see what that thing will do. So it is not like easy for anyone to memorize everything. So we need not memorize. We just need to know where is what. So I'll come here and I will run this command. Sorry, I'll run this command. So first I will run it and then I will tell you what is what. So I just now told that there is something called name command. So name command is nothing but you give a name. So you give a name as sample Nginx. Then you run it with -d option is detach mode. And then the latest image which you have downloaded, you can take it that. Latest. Okay, enter. So I have run it in a detach mode. So I told when you run in a detach mode, ID will come, or SHA ID or a commit ID will be generated, and it will release your foreground or it will release your terminal so that you can do other things. But the container is running in the background. Can I check that? Yes. Docker ps -a. You can see the container is created some 25 seconds back, and it is up and running from last 24 seconds. Okay. Now, what image is running? So this image or the latest image is running. And I gave a name here, sample Nginx. And this is what is running here, sample Nginx. Now, if I run the same command again, it will throw me an error because this name is already taken. If you want to give this name again, it will throw you an error. See, it says error response from the daemon. The container name is already in use. It means you have to change the name. And now if I come back here, I can see there are two containers running, but with two different names. Its simple meaning is that the name will uniquely identify the container. Obviously, the container ID is something which will help you to uniquely identify. But in case you want, you can go by the name also. Now, let me say, I don't want this. Okay, so you can go ahead. Okay, so one second. Okay. Now, let me say that I don't want this. So I can see it is running right now, right? Up from 2 seconds. I don't want this. So you can either come here and say Docker stop the container name or container ID, whatever you want. Docker stop container name. The moment I say Docker stop, you can see it is exited or it is stopped. Okay. So if it is in stopped state right now, I want to bring it back. So you can come here and say Docker start. And this, you can use the Docker ID or Docker name, your call. So I can see I have started the machine. So I can see it is up and running from last 5 seconds. Okay. So there are commands like Docker start, Docker stop, and you can start and stop your machines or your containers using that. Then let me say, I don't want it at all. I just want to delete it. Okay. So you can come here and say Docker rm means remove. And because it's a running container, I have to forcefully remove it. It's a stopped one, means I can easily remove it. But it's a running container, so I have to force it. So I can come here and say Docker rm -f, the container ID, and this container ID. If you come here and see, both the contents have been removed. How to check? Docker ps -a. Now the question is, what happens if I don't use these flags, whatever you told me? So you told me use --name flag. You told me -d flag. What happens if I don't use that? Let me come here. Let's not give a name. Okay. What happens? Random name is allocated. Zen Solomon, a random name is allocated. What happens if I don't run -d? You can see here, it has kind of blocked your console. All the standard input and standard output are pushed here. Now I cannot do anything. Okay. So if I have to do anything, I have to open a different terminal or I have to do a Control-C here. So if I do a Control-C, it automatically exists. So now if I come here and say Docker ps -a, I can see it has already exited or it has already stopped. It is stopped, so I can easily remove it. Docker rm. I don't have to force it because it is already stopped. It is removed. So this is running. I want to remove it. Docker rm and this. Will it work? No. Why? It says error from the daemon. You cannot remove a running container. If you want, you have to forcefully remove it. First, either stop it. If you don't want to stop it, then you forcefully remove it. Okay. Hopefully till this point of time, everything is clear. So I used two flags, minus minus name, minus D, and minus the minus D minus A, or if you don't give D, it is A, attach mode, and then the name of the container. Now, many times it happens that you want to see a detailed output. Okay. One second. Okay, so many a times you want to see a detailed output, okay, of what is the container doing, how is the container running. So in that case, okay, so let me say I'm running it like this. Okay, so I have a container with this ID. Okay, is there any limit to create containers on one Docker image? No, there is no limit to you can go ahead and create any number of containers. Obviously your machine should support. So let me see if I have 1 GB RAM, then accordingly I can run those many machines only. How can I find the history of commands I executed? So whatever commands you execute, you just come here and say history. All the commands will be listed here. Okay. So I said Docker ps -a. So I have this machine running and I did not give a name. So a random name was generated here. So I want to know the details, like what is this stuff. So I can use a command called Docker exec, or I can use Docker inspect. So when I say Docker inspect and the name of this particular module, I can go inside the module and see all the details related to that particular stuff. So if I come down here, I can see everything related to this container. Where is this container running? So I told Docker inspect and the container ID. So it says this is the full ID. This it was created. There is an entry path. This is Nginx. The daemon is off. Current status is running. Running is true. This is the image which it is using. This is the host path. This is the driver. And I will come to network. So when I come to network, I'll show you that. See here, the driver is overlay driver. Okay. Then I just now saw this network thing here. Okay, so this is the data, or this is the volume part. So again, volume I will come later. This is the mount path or bind mount. Then this is the network setting. So it's a bridge network. Again, the networking part will be covered later. So basically it gives me all the details related to what you are looking at. Okay, so every detail is present here. Every detail, small, big. If you're looking for the IP address, this is the IP address of this particular container. Okay, so every container will have an IP address. Now I want to access it over the internet. Okay, or I want to access it outside this AWS world. How can I do it? So for that, you have to tag it, or you have to use the option as -p. So what is this -p? Docker minus Docker run minus help. So there is an option called -p. So it says publish. So it says publish it at a random port. Means when you want, you can access it from outside world via a random port. Okay, let's see what is that. So let's come down here again, and here it says you can run something like this. Let me take this content, clear all these things, paste it here. So it says minus name. So give some name, sample Nginx. minus D, you know. Now this is something important, minus P. So you are saying internally it is running at port 80. See here, internally it is running at port 0. Externally, I want to access that at port 8080. So there are two things which you have to do. You have to open your security group and you have to enable this port number. And then you have to tell this particular thing, Nginx latest. Okay, so I can see here Docker ps minus a. So if you see carefully, let me take this out from here. See here, there are two containers running. One is the old one, which is running from last 4 minutes. And if you see here, it is only internally running at port number 80. But the other one which I have published, it is saying from outside world, you can access it via HTTP or HTTPS. So these are the two protocols via which I can access it. And this is the name what I have given. So let me try to access this via outside world. Let's go ahead. So how will I access? First, what I have to do is I have to go to my AWS machine. This is the machine. So this is the IP address. Take this IP address, try to access it. Will it work? No. So 8080, will it work? I said no. Why? Because the security group which you are using will not allow the traffic. So what we will do is we'll go to security, we'll scroll a bit down, we'll come here and we will go to the request or the inbound request and we will add our port number. I will say add rule and I'm going to access it via 8080. Okay. It can be anywhere. Anybody from anywhere can access it. And just go ahead and save the rule. The moment you save the rule, come back here and again refresh. Okay, automatically it refreshed. And if you see, I'm able to see the welcome Nginx page. So basically what I have done, it is also known as publishing the port or port forwarding. Okay, so the request which was earlier only internally running, now I am publishing it or pushing it to port 8080 outside also. So this is 8080 for you. Okay. If we do not mention the latest, even if you don't mention the latest, it will take the latest thing only. So just I want to show you a few things. Now here you are not mentioning anything. It will take latest only. But before running this, it will give me two errors because this name is already getting used and this port is also getting used. So now if I go ahead and say that I run the same command again, okay, I will get two errors, one for this and one for this. Let's see. Error from the daemon conflict, sample Nginx name is already getting used. Okay, let's change the name. Enter. Now it says driver failed. Okay, bind port is already getting allocated. So 80, 1 second. Can you go on mute if you're not talking? Who's that? Okay. So here it says the port binding has failed. The port was already in use. So you understand that if this port is getting utilized, I cannot use it again. So let me change it. I can make it anything, 8081. Now it says the name sample Nginx 1 is also getting used. So make sure you are giving everything fresh. And I got a new image. Come here, Docker ps minus a. So I can see so many things are there. I'll take everything from here. So I can see I did not mention anything. So it did not take anything, but internally I know the tag is latest here. Okay. This is the one which is the latest one. This is exposed to port 8082. This is exposed to port 8081. and this is sample Nginx, and this is sample Nginx 2. Okay, so this is also known as port forwarding. Okay, now any doubts, any questions till this point of time? Okay, if you have, you can put it on the chat window. I'll take it from there. Okay, now. So this is the one. Now, if I close my machine, or if I shut down this machine, 8080 is this guy, right? This guy. So if I stop it, Docker stop. Again, come back here. It will not work. Can I change port 80? The internal port cannot be changed. The external port can be changed. So if you're talking about this internal port cannot be changed. This is kind of fixed. So the internal port stays as it is. That is the default feature of that particular software. Again, now we need to open, you need to open 8082 also. Yes. So if you have used 8082 as a port number, you have to open it, else it will not work. Are we stopping the Docker after we are done practice or save? No, you should go ahead and stop your AWS EC2 instance. The other items will automatically get stopped. So you need not worry about what's happening inside the container. You just close the machine or close the EC2 instance. Others will be taken care of directly. Yes, Vuka, you can go ahead and make changes while creating the EC2 instance also. In that case, you should be aware which all port you are going to use in future. So if you are aware that, okay, I'm going to use these many port numbers, you enable it at that time only. Okay, let's clear all these things. And I can come here and see there are so many applications which are running. So I want to close everything, Docker, and I will say rm -f because they are running 1 space 2 space 3 space 4 space. All of them will be closed at one shot. One outside our session queue. Can we identify EC2? Wait. One outside our session question. Can we identify EC2 machine associated with associated to AWS RDS? Yes, you can. Docker Compose will come. Give me some time. I'll come to Docker Compose later. 80 is default for Nginx. If we are installing any SQL, then their respective port needs to be used. Yes. So if you are using to remove all containers, wait a second. How to stop a particular container? Please explain. So if you want to stop. Okay, Rohit is pointing something. What are you pointing, man? What is this? Infosys Gold plus Vantage Circle added. What is this, Rohit? I don't understand. Please don't post things which are not relevant here. Okay, if you want to stop a particular container, how to do it? Okay, so let me come down here and let me run this here. So how to run? This is how I'll run it. Okay, let me say I'm running it at 8080. So this is how I run it. If I come here and say Docker ps -a, it is running from last 5 seconds. I want to stop it. Take this. Docker stop and the particular ID. It is stopped. See here, it is exited. How can we access new Docker from external via? How can we access a create new Docker in the sense? Are you talking about your custom image? If it's a custom image, then we will come to that. It will take some time. A 2-3 class will come to that. What if you have like 100 containers? Is there a command to stop all of them one shot? Yes, there are commands where you can just stop all the containers at one shot. I don't remember the command exactly, but yes, there is a command. You can just Google out. I can also give you that command later, but I don't remember that command. So I'll also Google and tell you what is that command. If there are 100 containers running and you want to stop all of them in one shot. Now, there are a few more commands, like one command is cp command. Let me clear all these things. So as of now, let me say docker ps -a. So let me say that there is a port which is running, or there is a container which is running, and I want to go and do some changes inside the container. Okay, how to go inside the container? So you will have to use this command, docker exec, means execute this command. Okay, where would you like to execute? Inside the container. So I'll say docker exec -it, means interactive terminal mode. I want to go inside the container in interactive terminal mode. This is the container ID and bin bash. So this is the command, docker exec -it interactive terminal mode bin bash, the container ID. So if you see here, right now I'm at root@docker. After this, error response from daemon, why? Sorry, it is in exited state. I should bring it up first. So docker start the container. Now if I try to go inside the container, I should be able to. Okay, so if you see here, earlier I was here, root@docker machine. Now I am root@ this thing. So this 2E5BA actually, if you see, is the container machine. ls-l. This is the content inside the container. Okay. If we are using private EC2 instance, how to access Docker containers? Now, if you are using a private EC2 instance, then the internet will be restricted. You will have to either use a Bastion host, or you will have to use a NAT gateway to give some internet connectivity, or privately you have to store it at some different location. How can I check total resource utilization for my VM containers? So you can have, there are a lot of commands like CPU info is there. You have top command like that, you can see. So the CPU utilization will be shown to you like that. How can I get the log of the container? So log of the container is very easy. You just come here and say docker log, docker, wait a second, just exit from this. You can use this command, docker log, and then the container ID. Docker log. Logs, sorry, it's logs. This is the container, docker logs, and the container ID. So you see all the logs here, whatever you do. Okay. Don't see more questions here. Okay. So what we do tomorrow is we start with Docker volumes, how to make our data persistent, because if you store something here, okay, and tomorrow if you delete your container, the data also gets deleted. So what we will try to do is we'll try to make our container more persistent. Control. So we will want to make our containers more persistent, in the sense, even if the container gets deleted, the data inside the container should not get deleted. So let me say I have a file here, nano. Let's say like this, nano file 1.txt. Okay, this is file 1. Control X, Y, enter. Okay, so if you see here, there is a file 1.txt, and the size is some 15 kilobytes. Okay, if I want, I can copy this inside the container. So how can I do it? Docker ps -a. So I'll say something like this: Docker cp means copy. What do you want to copy? So I want to copy this guy. And where do you want to copy? Here. So here there is a, let me say I'll create a temp folder and I'll copy it. Okay. So now if you go inside the container, Docker exec -it container ID, bin bash. And if you go to this folder, you can see this file 1.txt. So I have copied something from my outside machine or from my machine to this particular machine. But the problem is, if somehow exit, if somehow this machine gets deleted, somebody comes here and deletes this machine, Docker rm -f. So this data also gets deleted. I don't have any backup. I don't have any way in retrieving the data. So that's the problem. So what we will try to do is we'll make sure that whatever data we have in the container is persistent, so that we do not have any problem related to the containers. If we have stopped sample Nginx, then again we use the same name like sample Nginx. It should be unique. It should be unique. So you cannot use the same thing again and again. Can we create snapshots? Yes, you can create snapshots. I'll show you how to create a snapshot. You can, at any point of time, you can create a snapshot and you can use it for your any work which you want to do. The name must be unique. At least within your account, the name must be unique. Okay. Okay. I'll take a pause here and we meet tomorrow again. We'll share the recordings and then we will go ahead and start tomorrow with networks and then with data persistence. Please explain that now O0 file.txt. I could not get your question here. Can we also make mutables so that no one else can delete the Docker? Yes, all these things can be done. Saurav, I request you to put it on the WhatsApp window which you have. I will make sure that we cover all these things. Create a snapshot and a mutable one so nobody is able to delete it. Okay, so I think somebody is asking for this number file.txt. So I'm not getting your question, but I'll try to explain that. So what I'm trying to tell you here is there is a file. I've created a file and I want that this file should go and sit inside the container. So as of now, I don't have a container. Okay. But in case you have a file in your local machine and you directly want to copy inside the container, you run this command. You say Docker cp, what file you want to copy, then name of the container, colon, and then at what location you want to copy. Obviously, it will give me an error right now because there is no such container available. Okay, fine then. See you guys tomorrow. And whatever questions you have, this question is a good one, the snapshot and the mutable one. So put it there in the chat window and in the WhatsApp window. I'll keep a track of that. And when we are going to that topic, we will take care of that. If we create a Docker in AWS, can we, see, these are portable. You create anywhere and take anywhere. That's not a problem. Please get in touch with the coordinator. He will add you to the group in case you're not added. Okay, fine then. See you then guys. Bye-bye.